If you store your guns properly,
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
I won't have to tell so many family members. I'm sorry.
I won't hear as many scary stories.
And I won't have to tell my kids. This isn't a drill.
Please.
please.
Do it for us.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always, lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phalen, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of radio affiliates here in Lancaster. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. We've done this program on radio for about the last 13 years, on television for about the last 6, and I sincerely appreciate our viewership, the people who listen to us on the radio, and all the nice comments we get monthly about our program. Back by popular demand, Monty Lobb. Good to see you, Monty.
Sheriff Dave, great to see you.
And Monty Lobb is a professor at Ohio Christian University, the dean there.
Well, as of June 1st, I will be.
You will be
Right.
June 1st, the dean.
Right.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And we were talking before airtime that it has actually been 4 years since you've been on the program.
It has been. Time flies.
I was just absolutely amazed. If someone would have told me, I'd say, well, a couple years ago, but now it's been 4 years ago. First of all, before we get started, tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll talk about some really interesting topics today.
Great. Cincinnati native. Came to the Columbus, Central Ohio area back in 1996 to work for a fellow by the name of Ken Blackwell.
Yes.
So I was with Ken for 11 years.
Secretary of State.
Yeah. And before that was the treasurer of the state of Ohio, ran for governor in 2006.
Okay.
And so thoroughly enjoyed that time with him, learned a lot. I think grew as a manager, professional. So very indebted to him. Great people we worked with, particularly the Secretary of State's office, really turned that office around.
Okay.
And brought it up into the 21st century in terms of customer service. So those of us that were there for the entire 8 years, it's a source of pleasure and pride that we did that.
And live here in
here in Fairfield County. Met my
Children?
wife, exactly. We've got two, a 13, 11-year-old, Bloom Carroll, bulldogs.
Yeah.
And enjoying living out in the Carroll area. Practice some law.
Okay.
Have also a consulting firm called Kenosis. It deals with character ethics training.
Right.
And then most of my time, though, these days is at Ohio Christian University with the students.
So tell us a little bit about Ohio Christian University.
Well, great school. 4-year liberal arts college in the heart of Circleville. And about 10 years ago, the president, Mark Smith, came. It's the old Circleville Bible College, and known for training its pastors and ministers, people like John Maxwell, Rod Parsley. And Mark came and said, you know what, we want to continue that, but we also want to expand the vision.
Okay.
So in terms of training people to be businessmen and women, teachers, scientists, sports management, all kinds of different programs. And so now we have about 5,000 students when you take a look at the online programs, the satellite programs, and then the traditional program there on campus in Circleville. So it's really growing. Great mission. It's fun to be a part of the whole ministry there.
And I know one of your passions has always been teaching about ethics, about character, and those kind of things. And you know, as we read in the paper, we see on television things nationally, locally, and certainly in Fairfield County, some things we've seen in the past concerning. And so talk a little bit about some of the things you've done as far as teaching on ethics, character, and those type of things.
Okay, I will be happy to. It really started at the Secretary of State's office.
Okay.
That was the place where it started. And when we came in 1999, it was an office where things had run amok. People just basically doing whatever they wanted. There was a lack of trust. There were all kinds of grievances, lawsuits. It would take you 14 weeks to get your articles of incorporation back from the office. And that's if we didn't lose it in the black hole of the computer at the time. We wouldn't even know we had your paperwork.
Right.
And so it was a time to really experiment and say, you know, how can we lift the whole atmosphere and culture and change it? And we had a document called Uncommon Sense, 20 Character Ethics, where basically we said, you know what, we want to live this out. We want to incarnate this. We want to model what it looks like to respect people, respect their dignity, the whole idea of honesty, fidelity, forgiveness, excellence, on down the list. And so that's where I really had a chance to really help put a major thumbprint on changing the culture there. There are a lot of good people who just said, you know what, yeah, it doesn't have to be this way. So a lot of those lessons, some of the curriculum that we developed, I was able to take it and use it today. And even when I'm teaching a management and leadership class at Ohio Christian University, I can draw back on a lot of those experiences. Human nature is human nature, Dave.
Right.
It really is.
Right.
Left to our own devices, we're all prone to self-deception. We all have blind spots. There are times where we put ourselves ahead of others. You know, we want what we want when we want it. And that's why we have, unfortunately, you know, law enforcement, rules, regulations, because we don't do a good job of self-governing ourselves. And so we have to remind ourselves that it's not just about me. You know, I'm living in a community. What I do does affect other people. And so what I try to do, whether it's with kenosis, with the character training, or even training 18 to 22-year-olds in classes at Ohio Christian University, is get them to take a look in the mirror and say, okay, you may not be perfect, but what can I do to improve myself, to improve my character? Because people depend on us.
And what is kenosis?
Kenosis is a Greek term.
Okay.
And the Apostle Paul used it in the book that he wrote to the church at Philippians, where he talks about emptying yourself, that this is what real leadership is about. That it's not, hey, I got a title, I've got a position, I got the corner office, you know, on the 35th floor, and so you should all bow down to me. No, no, no. Real leadership doesn't look at serving people that way.
Servant leadership.
It really is. And so what people do is say, you know what, I'm here to put aside my interests, temporarily at least, to serve you. And what can I do to help you, to make you better? And that's what real leadership's about.
Yeah, and I think you know, one of the tough things, certainly being in political office, is sometimes you're going to have people within your office support the other candidate.
Right.
And that happens sometimes. And I can remember in the sheriff's office, you know, years ago, or when I'd run for office, some of the employees would support someone else. And you know, that kind of made me feel bad or hurt my feelings, but I kind of made it a point that I wasn't going to treat them any differently. In other words, I wasn't going to try to even a score. I was going to say, this is your right to be able to do that, and I'm not going to mistreat you. You're not going to be treated differently than anyone else. And I think after a couple campaigns that having that just kind of and it was tough at times. I mean, I'm not going to be disingenuous. It was tough at times. But I think over time, that today the employees know.
Right.
And I think there was a lot of respect from the employees once they kind of seen they can, you know, they can be critical.
Right.
They can do those kind of things, and no one's going to come after them after the election. If you get promoted, you get promoted. If you're a detective, you're a detective.
It's all about trust.
Right.
And leadership should set the tone for that and demonstrate what it looks like. So when an employee expects you to do a certain thing and you surprise them and you go above and beyond and you don't exert your rights, okay, and you say, you know what, no, I'm going to put your interest ahead of mine, or I'm not going to take you out, or I'm not going to do things that would gratify myself. That really speaks to servant leadership. And we don't see enough of that today. But I guarantee you the organizations and cultures that are healthy, that are vibrant, that are productive, you have leadership that takes that kind of attack, that kind of a spirit of leadership, where they don't punish people because somebody disagrees with them, because somebody speaks up and questions their authority. You know? Right. You don't have that. And we need more of that. And particularly in elected office today. Particularly in elected office. Citizens want to see that. They want to live in communities where they think their leaders are upstanding people, they follow the law, they're not above the law, that they treat people who come before them with an unbiased sense of leadership. And for the people who work for them, they want to see that this elected official also treats them fairly and justly.
One of the things we always tell every new employee, and this is something like Grandma would have told me when I was 7 years old, 3 things. We say, number 1, do an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. Number 2, treat people like you'd want to be treated yourself.
Right.
And then thirdly, to do the right thing.
Yes.
And you know what the right thing is.
You do.
And so, and I always tell the new employees, and we sit down and have a conversation, I said, if you do those 3 things, you'll have a great career.
Right.
You'll have a great career.
Right.
And many times it's not competency, and I think it's not the person's not competent or has the ability to do the job,
right.
but they lack something along the way, or they get kind of off the path.
Right. Well, it is amazing. I like to say that character is caught more than taught. And I had great examples growing up, not only my parents but grandparents, who really demonstrated for me at an early age, this is what honesty looks like, okay? This is what integrity looks like. So I had that. Now, a lot of folks don't have that today. And they come into the work setting and they're lost. They don't, believe it or not, don't know how to treat people. And so those who are leaders need to take it upon themselves to say, hey, I'm not perfect, but watch how we do this. This is the unwritten rules, the unspoken expectations in terms of what we expect here in this organization. And more voters expect that from their leaders.
Right.
They do.
Right.
And so, for example, with law enforcement, probably as much of the job as anything are relationships. Not just knowing the law, not just knowing how to use a firearm or sidearm or all this kind of stuff, but knowing how to relate to people in the community, to build those relationships of trust, so that when there does come that time for conflict, people are going to give law enforcement the benefit of the doubt. Hey, we know this person. They're here all the time. They're a good person. We see them at games. We see them on the streets, in the community. And so our law enforcement officials, all of our elected officials for that matter, really need to think about that's extremely, extremely important, that they're very sincere about that.
Yeah, I've seen some very good police agencies that didn't have strong community support, and they didn't do so well. And I've also seen some less than effective police agencies that had strong community support. They backed the police, and they did very well.
Yeah.
So I think that's so important that the community, you're an outreach, and you partnership with the community, with other agencies.
Right. You talked about competency, and I like to talk about character and competency, that both of those are very important. And if you had like a box with 4 squares in it, inside that box, that quadrant had high character and high competency. All of us want to strive to be in that box. We're not always there, but those are the kind of people we want to work with, we want as our best friends, be married to, and we definitely want as our employees. So as leadership, we have a responsibility, Dave, to try to help people get up in that box of high character and high competency.
We're just about out of time. I'd like to have you back next week,
Right.
talk more about character, ethics, this thing. And we could sit here for probably 2 hours to talk about this thing. Monty Lobb, the dean, upcoming dean, June 1st, at Ohio Christian University. I appreciate you being here. I want to thank the students here at Fairfield Christian Academy that put this program together. Behind the scenes is Kelly Roberts, our executive producer, lines the guests up, the questions, and does a terrific job behind the scenes. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week for this program. And on behalf of the men and women of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office, we do appreciate the support we get from the residents of Fairfield County and beyond. The clock on the wall says we're about out of time. Until next week, same time, same place. God bless. We'll see you right here next week. If you're driving, buckle up, and we'll see you next week.
These waters were woven into the culture of Native American tribes. The descendants of the early Europeans built a business here based on agriculture. And today, this unique destination in the Central Ohio countryside comes to life with stories and memories centuries old. The Fairfield County Historical Parks invites you to amazing Rock Mill. Above the falls of the Hocking River Gorge, here together, nature and man have created some truly American stories that you'll want to experience with the entire family. Visit us or learn more about Rock Mill and the largest wooden water wheel in the nation at historicalparks.org.